There comes a time when we have to stop negotiating with ourselves. We have to start embracing those irreversible shifts that lead to the most unapologetic, raw expressions of ourselves. This is Sexy Rebel Spirit, the private podcast by House of Andrea that drops live every single day into our exclusive Telegram space. If you're not in that space and you want to join the conversation, you'll find the link to it in the show notes. It's sexuality, it's rebellion, it's spirituality, and how these three things are simply the expression of who you are. This is your calibration portal, and this is where it all gets to change. So let's dive in. Hey, gorgeous. I wanted to take a second to talk about this concept of unsplitting, because this word, this frequency, this need to not split ourselves from our truth is coming forward in the field so strongly over the last week, I would say. But this word is really landing for me now, this unsplitting. And so this is everything that we're going to be building around in this space and all the spaces that I am moving forward to create, this sense of drawing that line in the sand, that we refuse to split ourselves away from the truth of who we are, unsplit from our body, unsplit from our desire, unsplit from our God. Because I think we live in a world where fracturing ourselves, who we truly are from our truth, is so standard. It is so normal. We get saturated in just trying to keep up, be, exist, function, regulate, be brilliant at the same time, but also fit into the construct and the energy of society. And what can happen over this fracturing is that we become split. We almost have split identity. So with some people or in some environments, we're in our truth, we're grounded, we're in our bodies, we feel powerful. And then other situations, circumstances, environments, we become these versions of ourselves. We become split from that groundedness, from being at peace in our bodies. And then we end up living this kind of dual identity type existence, and it becomes exhausting. And I do know from my own journey, I haven't always known about the split because I haven't necessarily felt that groundedness, felt that peace, been able to say in this environment, in this sacred space, in this alone time, I feel whole, I feel complete, I feel solidly in the truth of my identity. Haven't always even had that. And so the split state becomes the norm. It becomes the normal state, the only thing that you know. The fracturing becomes home. It becomes the sense of self. And so sometimes we don't even know that we're split. We just are who we are. And sometimes we just feel that sense of brokenness or out of place. I had a coaching call with someone recently, and she kept saying to me, she's like, I'm living in this physical location in the world. And she's like, I know I need to be here, but I feel so out of place. I feel so displaced. I can't figure out who I am, what I'm meant to be doing. And obviously the universe always, there's no mistakes. I believe there's no mistakes. There's always a reason why we're in a place, a space. And sometimes we try and hurry that up. Sometimes we need to be in a place to help call back parts of ourselves to really come back to who we are and recalibrate our identity. And that unsettled, that displaced feeling, that unsplitting, that feeling of being split, is our soul, the universe, trying to speak to us to really come back to the truth, to really experience what it is that we're meant to experience in that moment, in the wholeness that we're meant to experience it. Not partial, not rushed, not moving through things at light speed. Really ground into whatever that experience is for whatever growth, excavation, unveiling needs to happen, so that we can start to identify what is the truth of our identity. Who are we actually? When we strip back all the masks, when we strip back all of that fracturing and we look at the core that exists within, the soul, the energy, the life force, the journey that we are here to have. Like, what is the truth of that? What does that look like passionately? What does that look like deliciously? What does that look like fully expressed? You know, sometimes we're in places, we're in spaces, we're in situations, we're in parts of our journey where that's what our soul is calling us to look at. And then once we sort of start to connect into that, where are we splitting ourselves from that? Where are we putting on the masks? Where are we starting to feel that and like knowing that in those private moments, in the meditation, in that beautiful conversation with your best friend who's fully aligned in energy, and you know that there's more, like, where are we splitting ourselves in the rest of our lives, in the rest of the way that we show up in our businesses, in our voice, in our body, online, in our relationships, our work? Like, where are we splitting ourselves from that truth? And once we start to identify that, like, how do we go through the process of reclamation? Reclamation of like declaring, I am no longer a human who splits herself from her truth. I no longer know that I have a connection with God, Source, Universe, Mother Earth, but I only talk about it in these environments because it's palatable and safe for this people, for this collective, for this situation. Like, where am I knowing that I do love being in my body, or I want to love being in my body, because this body is powerful. This body can move through the world. This body can be shaped and healed and like owned and feel delicious and feel like absolutely alive in however, whatever way, whatever experience you want to have, however you want to address. Where am I splitting myself from that to look a certain way, to dress a certain way, to please someone, to make someone comfortable, to not upset, to not be weird, to not be strange? Like, where am I splitting myself from that? Like, this energy of starting to unsplit is really moving through the field at such a rapid pace, socially, personally, politically, financially, across all of the systems that we are plugged into around us. But it starts within ourselves. It really starts within ourselves. And so I'm going to be building a real strong frequency and signal in this space to really start like coming back to that sense of being unsplit. I'm really excited because I'm opening a mastermind called Unsplit, which is like a full demolition of our identities that are holding us back from being complete, from being unsplit. And so inside this mastermind, this is a high level, intense mastermind. This is where we go deep every single week to recalibrate. But there's also space in this mastermind for you to step up and unveil. It's like the live recalibration of who you are declaring to be and becoming as an unsplit woman. So that mastermind is coming as well. I'll drop the details there. But this movement, this shift in frequency is coming through for all of us so powerfully. And so just want you to consider, like, where are you unsplit from yourself at the moment? Like, are you showing up in one way, but you feel that separation from the truth? And like, why are you in that split state? Like, what is it that you're protecting? What is it that you're afraid of? Where are you holding yourself back in the world, publicly or even privately, that is stopping you from really being in that reclamation of your truth and where you are? Because asking these questions, this is where it all starts. This is where we start to even realize where we're split. And this is where we start to signal to our soul, like, I'm done. I'm done in the split. I'm ready to come back home. So I just wanted to drop this in while Source brought it to me. My angels, my guides, they stepped forward today and they were like, this unsplitting, this talking about this demolition of what was to really reclaim that ungovernable, unapologetic, unignorable version of ourselves is really, really strong. So tune into that feel into that. Let this trigger you. If you're like, ugh, I don't like this, let it trigger you and let it start to raise to the surface where you're still splitting yourself. Drop it below in the comments if you feel called to start claiming that shift. And I'll be in here again with more stuff to help us really attune to this signal of being unsplit, this frequency of really starting to own our truth so that we can all start to move forward powerfully. I love you, and I'll see you very soon. If you're not in there yet and you want to get into the private Telegram space where all of these audios drop every day, as well as all the art, the conversation, and the behind the scenes, go to www.andrealeemathies.com/private podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at Andrea Lee Matthies, and you can find more about me and all of my work at andrealeemathies.com. I'll see you in the next transmission.